This is Daily Armenia, ＳիվիլNeթ's daily news digest. Here's what's making headlines in Armenia today. Azerbaijan and Armenia have finalized negotiations on the text of a normalization agreement. Azerbaijani Foreign Minister Ceyhun Bayramov said today. According to Azerbaijani news agency APA, Bayramov stated that Armenia has accepted Azerbaijan's proposals on the last two disputed points of the agreement. The next step is for Armenia to amend its constitution, Bayramov said. The two remaining disputed provisions were about Armenia and Azerbaijan withdrawing legal claims against each other from international courts and removing third country representatives from their shared border. The only such representatives are European Union civilian observers, who were deployed to the border following Azerbaijan's incursions into Armenia's internationally recognized territory in September 2022. They had their mandate extended last month for another 2 years. Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan previously suggested that these observers might be withdrawn, but only from the sections of the border that have been formally delimited. So far, the only such area is a 12-kilometer stretch between Armenia's Tavush region and Azerbaijan's Kazakh district. Azerbaijan's demand for amendments to Armenia's constitution is based on a claim that its preamble, linked to the 1990 Declaration of Independence, implies territorial claims against Azerbaijan due to its reference to Nagorno-Karabakh. Armenian Foreign Minister Ararat Mirzoyan announced yesterday that Yerevan and Baku might abandon their ongoing legal proceedings against each other in international courts. Prime Minister Pashinyan reiterated the need for a new constitution, saying that previous constitutional changes lack legitimacy. Speaking during discussions on his Real Armenia concept, he claimed that a new constitution would have regional significance. My comments on the new constitution have sparked much debate. It has been framed as fulfilling a demand from Azerbaijan. However, within the Real Armenia ideology, it has an entirely different meaning, Pashinyan said. He also stressed that it's important to draft such a constitution that the majority of Armenian citizens would vote in favor of at a nationwide referendum. My understanding is that citizens do not feel connected to the current legal system. They see it as a set of rules imposed on them. Since gaining independence in 1991, Armenia has held 3 constitutional referendums. First in 1995, establishing a presidential republic. In 2005, introducing a semi-presidential system. And in 2015, transitioning to the current parliamentary system. Pashinyan first raised the need for constitutional reforms shortly after the 2018 revolution. A constitutional reform commission was established in June 2019, focusing on judicial reforms and governance structures, but it has been largely inactive for several years. Meanwhile, Armenia's National Security Council Secretary, Armen Grigoryan, dismissed suggestions that constitutional changes are linked to Azerbaijan's demands. Constitutional reform has been discussed since 2020, he told reporters, insisting that any amendments remain a domestic matter. The European Parliament adopted a resolution today addressing the trials of Armenian prisoners illegally detained in Baku, calling for an immediate and unconditional release of all detainees. The resolution was adopted by an overwhelming majority, with 523 votes in favour, 3 against, and 84 abstentions. Miriam Laxman, the European Parliament's standing rapporteur on Armenia and a co-author of the resolution, condemned the trials as politically motivated and inhumane. She criticized Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev's regime for disregarding international obligations and obstructing regional peace efforts. Nathalie Luzio, another co-author, likened the trials in Baku to Stalin-era prosecutions, arguing that the prisoners' only crime is their Armenian identity. She urged the European Union's foreign policy chief, Kaja Kallas, to visit Armenia and witness the country's pro-European aspirations firsthand. In addition, several other deputies called for stronger EU measures against Azerbaijan, including sanctions, and criticized the EU's energy dependence on Baku. They stressed that Azerbaijani gas should not take precedence over human rights and European values. EU Commissioner Dan Jorgensen stated that the European Commission is closely monitoring the trials of 16 Armenians in Baku's military court. He reiterated the EU's commitment to ensuring fair trials and dignified conditions for prisoners, urging Azerbaijan to uphold its international obligations. In a parallel development, Ruben Vardanyan, Artsak's former cabinet leader and one of the prisoners, ended his hunger strike in Baku jail, his representatives reported today. He stressed that his 24-day-long hunger strike was aimed at drawing international attention to the unfair trial. And finally, the CivilNet number of the day is 1. That's because Armenia's national futsal team made history yesterday by qualifying for the European Championship for the first time ever, securing the number 1 spot in its qualifying group with a 4-2 victory over Kazakhstan in Yerevan. The team outpaced their group rivals Albania, Denmark and Kazakhstan by winning 5 of its 6 matches and drawing 1, after failing to qualify for 9 World Cups and 12 European Championships. Armenia is finally heading to a major tournament. The championship, featuring 16 teams, will take place in Latvia and Lithuania in January and February next year. Armenia's group stage opponents are yet to be determined, but one thing is clear: it will be an underdog ready to surprise. And as always, please follow CivilNet for the latest news and independent reporting from our contributors on the ground here in Armenia.